Hey, we're back for Feedback Friday, feedback on your art. And today we're going to teach you a composition called The Portal. And we're going to review 6 different paintings and see what we can do to make them better. So let's look at all those paintings right now, and we're going to give some feedback about them. Well, we've got a lot of paintings today, and let's just keep going through them all, and that will be really terrific. Nice, nice. You guys are getting better. You're going to make my job a lot tougher. I don't know what I'm going to do. I have no idea what I'm going to say. This is really, really getting hard. Congratulations to all of you who have the courage to submit. Now, when you guys are watching this, I want you to start seeing problems on your own by looking at other people's paintings. I encourage you to ask yourself, what do I see that needs to change, right? What would I do? What does the composition look like? Where are the focal points? You know, where's the light and the dark? And how are the values? Ask yourself those questions. A critical part of learning to paint is getting feedback, because we can't see our own mistakes. So what we can't see is drawing the eye, or is distracting from the painting. So we've got to be looking for those things. For me, it's actually easier for other people's paintings to be critiqued than my own, because I'm a little bit defensive, making excuses, and I'm trying not to look bad, right? So I'm telling myself, oh, I knew that, I didn't know that, and then I'm not hearing what they're saying. So if that's you, pay close attention. Now, we can see more clearly when you see through the eyes of others. We're going to get started right now. Let's get this show officially going.
It's Art School Live with Eric Rose.
All right, welcome to Art School Live. Today is Feedback Friday. We do Mondays, we do marketing. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we do guest artists. And on Fridays, we do feedback. Always got feedback. So we're here every Friday at 12 noon Eastern, and have been since way back in COVID days. Remember those? We're almost forgetting them. We want to forget them. Anyway, we've got all this stuff going on, and we will be here. We'll continue to be here. Now, as publisher of many art magazines and newsletters, competition judge, coaches, and all that stuff, plus 2 decades of painting, I might be able to spot a couple things that can help you improve. I might not. Sometimes I'm going to go, you know what? Get an A+. I can't make it any better. So the goal here is not to beat you up, is to provide a different perspective. And the rules are always be kind, be loving. That's what we are, loving, especially with Valentine's Day coming up, right? They got to be loving. Anyway, be constructive. Don't tear into somebody and destroy their psyche with the words. Don't be mean. Everybody's at a different stage. I had an early instructor tell me I should give up painting. It devastated me. I gave up for a long time. I'm lucky I got back, because we wouldn't be here if I didn't. Anyway, I couldn't paint, and I felt like I had this belief that you had to have natural talent. But after trying, I convinced myself I do not have what it takes. So don't do that to yourself. Watch your brain. You can do this. You can succeed. You just need great teachers and great practice. Even the bad days are fun, because at least you're painting and drawing, right? So nothing here personal. Everything's opinion. I'm not here to hurt, only to help. And my goal is to always find something nice to say about every painting in the start. All right. So it's going to be hard for me to provide feedback and read your comments. So go ahead and be active in the comments. Tell everybody where you're watching from. I love it when people all over the world are chiming in. So go ahead and do that now. And I'd like each of you watching to provide your own feedback. Here's what I would do, but keep it positive, right? Don't want to destroy anybody. And we're going to see things that you see that I didn't see. So your experience will inform you in different ways. All right, you ready for that? So if you want to submit paintings for this, go to streamlinepublishing.com/feedback-Friday. And if you make changes after hearing my suggestions, make sure to send them to us by email. That way we can show the before and the after. All right, are you guys ready? Okay, we're gonna dig into this now and see if we can do this. This painting here, this one is really nice. Now, it's hard for me to see it really close up, but I'm gonna look at the black and white version first. If I can get it up, there we go. All right, so I'm gonna grab my handy dandy little chair and sit down so I can see these things a little bit better. Okay. Now, the first things I always ask myself, and you should be asking yourself, is where is the focal point. Well, I think obviously the focal point, the center of interest is here, and the tower is really what's getting my attention. But I want to ask myself, is it in the right place? Is there a better way of doing this? And so first off, I start out by trying dead center. What is dead center? Well, nothing is really dead center on the horizontal line, but something is dead center on the vertical line. And usually when things are dead center, like right along here, it is a signal that you're trying to be a little bit too centered. So I'd be a little bit careful about that. I might consider moving this over here, over here, or over here, depending on how much building you want to show. And so that's something you want to consider. Now, the other thing is we have what I call the tic-tac-toe board, or the rule of thirds, and you basically equally divide things. And your goal is to try to be in one of these zones for your primary focal point. You can have a primary and a secondary, sometimes a tertiary, but you don't really need it. So again, this is telling me move this tower, this church or college or whatever it is, over here, and that would probably strengthen it. So let's look at the values now. Values are the darks and the lights, and we like to look at these in a black and white form because that helps us. Where is the darkest dark? If I squint down and look at this, the darkest dark is right here, and pretty dark here, a little bit dark here. But what I typically try to do is I want to get a really good strong dark somewhere in here, somewhere in here. The other thing I'm noticing here, the values are pretty good overall, but you ask yourself, where is the eye going? What's the first thing I see? Well, first thing I see is this, but what's the second thing I see? What else is drawing my eye? Well, this sharp edge is drawing my eye and bringing me down in there. And this bright spot right here is drawing the eye. Now I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to show the light that's kind of coming through here, but it feels like it's drawing too much attention. So you might want to consider looking for a way to mute that back. And so if we went in there and kind of muted some of this back, it might help. And then, you know, we can figure out, you've got that lead-in path, and that's nice, and we can figure that out. But maybe what we want to do is lighten up that path just a little bit, maybe lighten it up as much as this, so that path comes out a little bit more, and then we can kind of have it fade into the shadow. And then, you know, if you wanted to, we talked about escaping last week. And so, you know, you might want to put a nice solid dark up here, and you could do that by having a bush or something. Be careful about being exactly in the corner, but, you know, you could have something that kind of sets a nice dark in the front of this. And then also, when you're doing a path, look for an opportunity to get a little edge of that path that's a little bit darker. And this is going to be too dark, but just to examine it, you know, and just to give that a little bit of dimensionality. Now, this stuff in here is drawing a lot of attention. And so let's go to the color version, because I think that will make things a little better for us. All right, this is really lovely. This is Charles Marshall from Scotland. All right, Charles, congratulations. It's really beautiful. Okay, so I accidentally put a red mark on it. I don't think I can get rid of it now. But let's first thing is, let's look at this and say, okay, where are the bright spots in this painting? And you have the bright spots in this area here. What would happen if we toned all of that back to a mid-tone? That's not a mid-tone. Let's put all this shadow in and get rid of all of this light in here and get rid of all this light in here. Now, why would we do that? That light is drawing the eye. And now we're not necessarily going to give up on it. We've got a lot of light drawing the eye over here. This gravestone is dead center, almost dead center again. So you might ask yourself, could I move it over here? Or do I need it? You know, do I need it? So if you wanted to have your path in, you could still put your path in, but keep most things a little dark. That path will stand out a little bit more. And then the wall is not drawing as much attention in the color version as the black and white, but you know, it's pretty good. I think just be careful with this light edge here a little bit. So this is kind of along the lines of what I'm going to teach. It's a portal. You know, you're looking through a portal, and that's pretty good. But the thing that is bugging me here, Charles, is first off, it's really a beautiful painting and it's really well executed. I can't really tell what medium it is. It looks like it could be probably oil, but I'm not sure. I think the one thing I would be a little bit careful about is we have this equal box here, and we have this equal box here. These are equals, and so you want to look for, when we had Mike Hernandez on the other day, if you want to go look at that, you want to look for things that are not equal shapes. So really, you have three equal shapes in here: one equal shape, one equal shape, and one equal shape. So what you want to do is look for a way to make one of these bigger, one of these smaller. So if we were to go back in here, just as this example, assuming we had moved this church steeple back, probably what I would do is I'd go in here and I would open this portal up a little bit so that maybe this one tree is not sticking out quite as much, and you've maybe got some variations, some sky holes and things like that. So now what that does, and then of course all this stuff over here, this tree wouldn't be there, and then you could have the rest of the building showing, and that'd be good. But you could mute it back so that you strengthen this. So I think just doing that alone helps, but it's still what's called a portal concept, is you're kind of bringing me across it and bringing me into it, and that's pretty good. And I would ask yourself, where on this thing do you want the light to really stand out? So I would probably look for a way that I could make the light stand out a little bit more on this steeple. So I might look for an opportunity to just darken. Whoops, that's not the right color. Let's see if we can get a dark color in here. Let's try to get this just a little bit darker. So what I'm thinking about is get a little bit darker on the edge of the steeple here. And it doesn't have to be everywhere, but you're going to have to blend it. And then it can be lighter on the other side. And then what I would look for is a way to pump up that light just a little bit more. I'm going to exaggerate it here because it's going to take some time, but you've got pretty good light on these steeples here, these three, but really what we want to draw attention to is all of this, right? So I would strengthen the light on that, and I would reduce the light on the edge of that. And I would probably, since this other tree isn't going to be showing, I'd probably take this light, take all of this and brighten that up just a little bit, not quite as much as the other side. And then some of this other stuff where it's drawing a lot of light all over the place, I would probably mute that back just slightly so that you have a sense of light, but not quite as much light in there. So let's see if we can do that. Just mute that back just a little. So we just want to, we don't want to draw the eye too much. Now, the other thing is you got to decide what kind of painter you're going to be. And I think you're a detail painter. I think that's really nice. But you don't have to put every detail in. You can if you want to, if that's your thing. But you could potentially, if you want to draw the eye away a little bit, you could make some of these windows in here a little bit softer, because your eye is kind of drawn to the focal point, and where you want to do is make your strength really up in this area. Anyway, I think that's really beautiful. I would probably consider that you could ask yourself, what could make this stronger? Well, one thing that could make it stronger is to get rid of this wall entirely. Now, how could you do that? Well, you bring the building down. I'm just going to exaggerate it down a little bit, and then bring the rest of this stuff down over in here, and then what you could do is just make your grass just kind of come up to here, so that you're not seeing the wall, and the wall doesn't necessarily hurt it or help it. It's just an alternative. You want to ask yourself, is there an alternative? That's too bright. But the idea is that you can get some bright and then lead into here. So that's just a thought. I got the bell. That means I'm done. The other thing is you've got some nice light over here. I would get a little bit of light just on the edges over here, just a little bit more to emphasize that light coming in from there. Okay, let's go to the next one. Good job on that, mister. Next one, we have a surfer dude. little surfer dude. Wow. This is very nice. This is from Thomas Cruz in North Carolina. Congrats, Thomas. Okay, we're going to look first at composition, and I would say, you know, we're pretty good there. You've got his behind right in the middle, and so I would probably look to figure out how to get his behind up in here a little bit more, or down in here a little bit more, and maybe even off center just a little bit back in here, although this composition is pretty nice. So the other thing that I would do is ask yourself, where is the eye going? Let's do tic-tac-toe board, right? Equal thirds. And you've done that. You've put him in the right spot. So really, you did the right thing. You put his head there, and his body had to go there. You couldn't avoid that. So what I would probably do in this particular instance, I think one thing that you need a little work on here, Thomas, is edges. Edges will change your life if you learn how to do edges. And so every edge that you have here is pretty sharp, right? Sharp here, sharp edges everywhere. Everything is sharp. Just a little softer there. And here you've got the water over it, but you've got even a sharp edge here. And so, and a sharp edge here. So what happens is when things are sharp, it doesn't feel quite as realistic. And so if you can go in and look for spots that you can, so let's say you want a sharp edge to draw the attention. So you might want that sharp edge here, and you might soften this, keep that sharp, soften this, soften, sharpen, soften. So just kind of get some variation on that. So we might try that when we get to the color version. The other thing is looking at our values. It's kind of hard to create distance when you're up close like this. And so I think our values are pretty strong. I would probably look to strengthen the value, the shadow underneath the surfboard. That does a couple of things. You've got an edge on the surfboard. You can make that surfboard stand out a little more. And also it gets you a little bit of a sense of getting some good dark values kind of towards the front of this. And that will help it. But let's go to the color version. All right. I like this. Now, I like the fact that you've used some really nice color right in here around the focal point. I think that's really terrific. The thing that I'm, this is picky, and you painted what you saw, but what I'm seeing here is I don't remember seeing yellows. I'm sure they're there, but I'm not used to seeing yellows in there. So I might bump that up with a little yellowish turquoise or something to try to really make that stand out. So what 𝗙𝗵𝗍𝗆 talks about is that sometimes if you want to have a fugitive color that's not used anywhere else, use it in your focal point, right? So this would be a fugitive color, and then you could potentially blend some of that into some of this other stuff. The other thing is, remember, where do you want the eye to go? Well, in a situation like this with all this white, it's pretty difficult to not have that white. So I'd be, I think you're right about that. So I think normally I would say all of this is drawing the eye. What you might ask yourself, is there a way you could exaggerate the shadow and just bring this shadow down here a little bit more, and maybe you make some stuff up so that you're getting, and maybe even shadow on the board a little bit, because there could be something throw at a shadow. Nobody's going to know the difference. That will strengthen it just a little bit. Get some of these lights out of the areas you don't want the eye to go to. I'm not sure we want too much of that light. I might mute this back a little bit in here because I don't want to draw too much attention to his hand. And then, put, I'd try to get some stronger lights on his face. And so we want to see if we can, maybe make that a little yellower, a little oranger in there, and see if we can really enhance the light on his face a little bit to really create a little bit more dimension. Now, this is obviously, I'm not going to get it right with this tablet at this time, but the idea is he's pretty much in shadow, and that's okay. But I'd try to figure out how to get a little light on this, and then try to create a little bit more sense of form, so that light then gets a little darker in a couple of spaces. And of course, you can also look for things like, there are spots on the nose that are going to be a little bit red. There's kind of a band of red right in here. That just gives it a little bit more life, get a little red in there. And so look for a way to just pump that up a little bit, and then look for a way to pump up some of this light on his head, because his head and his shoulders are getting a lot of light, right? You've got it down here, but this is going to help draw attention to him, and you've got some highlights. I think just some things like that will help. And then go through here and let's soften up some edges, like let's soften up edge on this. That's a little bit much, but let's soften up some of these edges along here. Just break it up just a little bit here and there, and that will just help it just a little bit. Okay, but I think overall this is obviously too bold in here, too bright, but we can find a way to kind of get some of that color in there. I like to find a way to get color in there. The other thing is you're tending to make your shadows a little bit gray, and shadows tend to be blue, especially in water. So if you can have a way that you can get some bluish tints in these shadows, maybe not purple but bluish, that will help it read, because you want a juxtaposition of cool and warm. In painting, we're always looking for ways to get juxtaposition. We're looking for ways to have sharp against soft, and warm against cool, and so on. So look for some ways. And then if you wanted to, you could even put some shadow in here behind him so that you could make him stand out, and then your spot of light is kind of right in there by him. And so that just says the light is coming from here, and you've got that major focal point. Anyway, really, really nice job on that. Good job. All right, what do we have next? Ooh, we have this lovely, luscious still life, makes me hungry. Let's see who did this. This is from Erna Robertson in British Columbia. All right, Erna, you are a rock star. Congratulations. Okay, so we're going to go through the tests, all right? And there's all kinds of things, and I don't even mention half of them. But okay, so this is a really great painting to look at center, right? So you got a center right around here. You got a center right around here. And it's a little hard to avoid this in this kind of a painting, because this whole thing is kind of in the center. But this is what's happening here, is you're kind of creating almost a heart shape. Happy Valentine's Day, right here in the center. And so, could you have moved this off one direction or the other? That's a decision you have to ask yourself. But the other thing is, ask yourself, okay, about the equal thirds. So a long painting like this, it still applies. You try to figure out the equal thirds. That's not quite right. And you go through this, and then, ask here, 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 here. Well, if these peaches or whatever they are were here, and this bowl was here, that would strengthen the composition. You could still have your apples here, and then your grapes you could just extend them on over. So that's something I would be conscious of. Now let's look at values overall. I think the values almost seem too strong. So right, you've got a nice dark value in here, and here, and you've got a really big dark in here. These darks seem almost a little too intense. They read a little too intense to me. The lights are reading really light and beautiful. So let's look at color and see what we've got here. And we'll also look at edge work here in a minute. Wow. Now, it's hard to tell based on the photograph here, Erna, it feels very, very orange to me. And it's oranges, and I get that, but the whole thing, the whole tone of it feels very orange, right? This is all very orange here. These are obviously orange. These even have an orangey tone. This is an orangey tone. And so you might ask yourself, let's see if we can find a color wheel, just to ask yourself this question. Okay, here's a color wheel. If everything is orange, then what's the opposite of that orange? And that's a blue or a blue-green, right? Or orange would be primary blue. And so sometimes if you incorporate some opposite color into this, it could strengthen it. Now you've got green in here already. So the green, you've got kind of that blue-green in here, and you've got green back here. So that's helping, but it feels to me still a little bit orangey. And I think if we we look at the surface of this table, that's what's creating that sense of orange. And so you might want to ask yourself, is there a way to kind of neutralize this? So when you neutralize, you take a little bit of blue and mix it into your orange, right? The opposite color. And that helps this get grayed down in here. But there's something about it that just feels a little too orange to me. But anyway, this is pretty nice. This is really well done. It's very well rendered. Your lemons look luscious. You've got really good light on it. I would, let's just see if we can get nitpicky here. First off, like we said, we might change the composition. One way to change that composition is just be to cut this off right there, right? And you just X this out. Now, all of a sudden, if you were to do this in equal thirds, you know, now your bowl is kind of in those two sweet spots. This is kind of in a sweet spot as a secondary. So that's a possibility. I would like a little variety in this. Okay, so this is about oranges and a bowl. I would see, okay, what can I do to strengthen this color here, this blue? And I like it. I like the fact that it's muted back, but maybe let's see if we can get just a little bit more light in there on that and see if that would make a difference. I don't know if my light's even going to show up here. Huh. There we go. There we go. So, you know, you might want to ask yourself, could I get a little bit more? That bowl is probably not that light, but could I get a little bit more reading of light on that bowl and just then kind of fade that into the other, and that might just make it pop just a little tiny bit more, just to give you a little bit of a sense of more light. That'll help the dimensionality of that. See how just doing that, you don't want it to be too dramatic, but just doing that pops it quite a bit. And then the other thing is I'd look for a way to get a little bit more intense color in a couple of spots. So, and by the way, you got to be careful with intense color, but you know, you might ask yourself, could I just get, this is where they call the bedbug line. This is where light meets dark. You might see if you could just enhance the strength of the orange right in there just a little bit. That might help it. And the same thing really on these oranges in front. So maybe we look for a way to just get a little bit more of that strength of color in here. Let's see, maybe we'll do it this way. Just get a little bit more of that color in there, and that'll make those read just like that light is glowing through them. You see how that works? Yeah, wow. Just that alone, that now kind of makes that a focal point. And then everything else looks really good. Your grapes look really luscious. I would experiment with this. And the nice thing about a tablet like this is, first off, you don't have to paint what you see, but you can experiment with it. I would play with some things like, could I make a shadow from this bowl and have that kind of go down in here, have that blue go down in here, and have some of that blue go down in here. That might help things a little bit. Get some of that reflection in there, smooth that out just a little bit. And then you've got nice reflections of the oranges. You could even potentially pump up that reflection on that one. And the grapes, I think the grapes are fine. I think you've done a really terrific job. The execution on the oranges is great. You might go in and work on your edges just a little bit. So, you know, you've got sharp edges pretty much in here. This is pretty soft back here. That's nice. These edges are blending. That's nice. You've got a lost edge here, which is beautiful. You're obviously experienced painter. I might consider a lost edge on the back of that a little bit more. You've got a lost edge in here. A lost edge is where things kind of blend into the background, but sharp edges are where you're going to draw the most attention. You could even put just a tiny bit of white on this, because, you know, there's usually on the edge of an orange, there's a little of that white stuff. Just by adding that really makes that pop. And then, you know, a touch of light maybe on the edge of this, and look for a way to kind of create just a little bit of light here and there. Don Demers taught me that, you know, the last thing you do on a painting is you go through and you ask yourself, can I put a little, little spots of light that just enhance it just a little tiny bit more? And because what happens is sometimes we get blendy, and here you've gotten a little blendy, And so you've blended in those whites, and sometimes just by adding a few little spots of something here and there, it just kind of can help it come alive just a little bit more. And if this is where your primary focal point is, then really work on your color in there and brightening that light up in there. So you should get a halo effect of some yellow around the light. Really nice job on this. I really like it. And this is a painting that if I saw it in a gallery as it is, I would buy it. Right? So you've done a really terrific job on it. So just, I think, you're like 99% there. Just look for a way to enhance a couple of these little things. Okay, what's next? Ooh la la. Okay, we have a sunset or sunrise. Okay, this is 𝗙𝗲𝗶𝗱𝗆 from California. Congratulations, Julie. It looks like California. This is lovely. Really nice job. One thing I wanted to point out right away to everybody is there's a concept called scale. And the concept is, I'll just draw it on here. Concept is, if you have a big object, like you have the mountain there, and if you put a little tiny little person there, it makes that mountain feel bigger, right? I learned this from the designer of People magazine. And she would do layouts that would, she wanted a double page spread to look big. So she'd do an image that was this big, and then she'd put a small image right here, and it would make this image look bigger. And it applies to painting too. And Julie, you have done it right here. You got a small image next to this big thing here. And so let's look at this first off from a composition standpoint. Let's go dead center down the middle and dead center down the middle. And look what's happening. We've got the sun going on dead center, and we have the horizon dead center. Now, sometimes it works. Sometimes you gotta maybe move it around a little. What I would consider doing is moving that horizon either down here or up here. And sometimes what you see is not what you paint. The purist will do that. But for instance, this is all very nice, and I think this beach stuff really makes this painting. So I would consider just move my horizon just a little bit further up so it's not dead center. And then, you can exaggerate this rock all you want. If you want to really bring it up and make it a lot bigger, you can do that. And so that's the first thing I notice. The second thing I would say is ask yourself, where's your darkest dark? If I squint down, and we need to learn to squint, the darkest dark in this black and white is right in here, right there. And this is a secondary dark, but this, in theory, up in front should be darker than this, because darks recede. As you go back, they get a little bit lighter in value. And so what you want to do is look for a way to get some good darks up front. So you could get some good darks in here. You've got some darks in here, and that's nice. But I think one thing that would help this painting is reduce these darks in here and reduce this in here. Now, the other thing I'm just going to mention is ask yourself what's drawing the eye. And in a painting like this, the white is going to draw the eye, and your intention is to draw the eye to this person here and their dog, their little dog, Toto. So let's do the equal thirds and ask yourself, okay, if I'm doing a focal point in the intersections of the equal thirds, then what I would probably consider doing is move this here, move the rock over a bit more, move the beach out. And of course, if you change the composition, then you're getting that off of the center, and that will then put your focal point in a primary place. It's okay there, but you could just move it over a little bit more. The other thing is whenever there's white, especially anything pure or any color that's going to really draw the eye. So you've got a white here, and that's the right thing to do right around her and to create that silhouette, her or him. But you might consider muting back some of these other whites just a little, especially this one back here. You want whites in there, but you're trying to draw the attention into here. This is where your brightest, most light should be. I would look for a way, ask yourself, is there a way this light from the sun could be feeding as a way to point to this person? And that might just be exaggerating the light in here and drawing them in here, and then make it mute back a little bit more. Now, the other thing I'm going to say is you got a bird here and you got a bird here. That's probably where they were in your photo. But if you were doing the focal point thing, right, and she was right here with the dog, I'd put the bird here, might put the other bird here, right? You don't want to have 4 focal points, and you want to have one primary. So, you know, you could put a bird here or you could put a bird here and not have to do things. I typically want to be very careful about things that are equal, right? So if you have a bird, if you have one bird here and you have one bird here, I would rather have one bird here and 2 birds here, or I'd rather have 2 birds here and 1 bird here. So let's look at the color. Nice job on this. Okay, Julie, you're rocking it, baby. Okay, so you've got a lot of things going on in this color, and the light is, you got a lot of yellow on the yellow in your whites, and I think that's good. To me, the one thing that I feel sometimes is that things get what I call a little bit garish, and yellow is the one that does it for me. I was fighting that the other day. I kept putting yellow in. It just felt like it was too bitey, too acidic. So again, you go back to the color wheel, right? And what do? You find the opposite of yellow, and the opposite of yellow is purple. So she's really smart because she did that already. But I would, Julie, I'd get some of this purple and I'd get it in here and get some of this purple around this yellow, and maybe even mix a little purple into this yellow in a couple of spots. And, you know, nobody's going to care if this is blue or purple. It's the ocean, right? It's catching light differently. So getting some purple around that, you've got purple around the sun over here a little bit. So that will help you considerably. This to me feels a little bit contrived with the sun in the middle and the rays going out. And so you want to be really careful about contrived. And so I would probably just, I'd probably just mute this back just a little bit more in here. And just look for a way to kind of make this a little bit shorter, not stand out quite so much. And I wouldn't make it perfectly even, just because I just want to have that sense. Now I'm doing a sunset painting right now, so this is very much on my mind. I would also then, I would take a spot of light and get a really nice good spot of light in here. If you read or if you get the 𝗙𝗿𝗶𝗱𝗆 video, 𝗙𝗿𝗶𝗱𝗆 talks about how light works, and light has kind of a process. So it'd be like bright light right here, and then it'll go to a lighter yellow, and then it would go to a little darker yellow, and then it would kind of move into an orangey sense, and then it would move into kind of a reddish sense. And if you look at sunsets, that's always there. And so look for ways that you can get some of that. I don't know if this is sunset or not. The other thing, Julie, is you brought all this attention to this rock over here on the side, and your eye is going there and it's not lending anything to it. So what if we were to take this rock, let me find the dark in this rock. What if we were to take this rock and make this one big shape and just mute this back? And I know you're going, oh no. But what's going to happen here, first off, this big shape is going to, now it's not going to draw the eye quite as much. And you know, you can throw some spots of light on it, but now this really stands differently. And then you can grab some of that color and just put, you know, a few indications of detail in there, and that will help. And then if you wanted to, you could, you know, put just a nice bright spot on the edge of this, but you don't want to draw the eye there. You want to draw the eye here. And so what I'm going to ask you to do is to consider pumping up some of this color in here around her just a little bit more, and then muting back some of this other color, because we want all the attention. All of this stuff over here is drawing the eye, and it's not lending anything. I'm not, this piece here, I'm sure it was there. I would ask myself, do I really need it, or can I just take that out completely? Do I, you know, are these rocks in here helping or hurting? And I would just say they're hurting. So I would maybe mute this back get a darker color in here. Just mute some of this back just a little bit, so that what we're trying to do is to bring all the attention over here. So maybe we mute some of this back a little bit in here. And then we've got this dark, and I can't tell, it looks like it might be a mountain in the background. And if it's California, it could be, if it's Monterey Bay or something. So if it is, then ask yourself, can we lighten that up a little bit? So mountains tend to be purple. So if that were a mountain, that getting rid of that dark in there would help. And then, by the way, that mountain, because of the sun, if that mountain is in front of there, that mountain is going to do this. It's going to turn kind of this color. You want roughly the same value, and it's going to turn kind of a purplish, bluish, it's kind of a color right around where the sun is going to hit. Anyway, I think, okay, let's just play off this idea that we talked about earlier. Let's take this light and bring this light right into here, and look for a way to really pump that light up. And so now we've got the light we're kind of creating an arrow, if you will. So just look for a way that you can kind of play with things like that. And then really look for ways to pump this up right around here, if that's your focal point. And if it is your focal point, then don't bring too much attention to the sun, right? But bring attention to light hitting this area right in here. That'll help you. Okay, that's just one man's opinion. Julia did a beautiful job. Next we have the vase. Okay, so we're going to bring up the black and white on the vase first. And this is from, we're going to have to make these bigger. I'm hard to see these. Jace? I can't read it. Okay. All right, so let's play tic-tac-toe board on this, Jace. Nice job on it. And ask yourself, what do we got here? Okay, we got dead center, and we got dead center. Well, you're off dead center here. Your flower's over here, I think, but your vase is kind of rooted in dead center. And so I might consider move your vase over one side or the other. And let's play tic-tac-toe board for just a second. Let's ask ourselves equal thirds. And so if you had your flower here, it'd probably fit a little bit better. And so I'd ask myself if I could do that. Now, this window has kind of a hard edge, and it's drawing a lot of attention. And you might ask yourself, do I need it? Is it lending anything, or do I not need it? If you, for instance, if you said, all right, really, I don't need that window, would it strengthen this painting by putting, some shadow or something in there and then getting a lot of light on this flower? We'll play with that in a minute. I think the other thing about the composition here, Joyce, I'm sorry, is I would probably make this flower go up into here a little bit. It feels like this is dominating, the vase is dominating, and I want really, I think the flower is what you're trying to talk about. So let's do that. I want to look at the values real quickly. The darkest dark is where? The darkest dark is here. Where's the brightest light? The brightest light is here on the edge of the painting and over here, and there's some over here, and there's some over here. There's a little bit in here and a lot of bright over here. So all of these things are distractions. This is even a little bit of a distraction. So ask yourself, what could I do to get rid of some of these distractions? And the easy solution to getting rid of these distractions is just to take them out, right? And you can just kind of darken this stuff up a little bit, and because you're going to want to try to draw attention to your flower. Now, if this is a porch painting, then maybe we're going to move the flower over and show more of the porch. We're going to look at the color. Okay. Now I'm going to tell you something, Joyce, and you're going to hate me for this, and so please, this is not intended to see this. When I first looked at this shape, the first thing I saw, and forgive me on this, and you're going to all think I'm silly, and please, I'm not trying to be critical. When I saw this, I saw this shape as a chicken, and here's the beak, right? And once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. And this happens to me all the time, by the way. I'll make something, and then I'll realize, oh, it looks like a beaver or a chicken or something, and then I can't unsee it. This, to me, I guess this is a flower, but it's undeveloped. I would develop that more, and it really needs more sense of form. The way to develop that flower is to get a little bit more form in it. And I know it's a pink, but I think you need some contrast. I can't even tell what kind of flower it is, but if you look for a way to get some contrast in this, that will probably help it a lot. Since I don't have your reference, I don't know what you were trying to do here, but it seems to be a little bit bright. Now, the question for me was, where's the light coming from? Because of the edge of this vase, it's coming from here. So this flower is picking up a lot of light. So you've done the right thing there. You probably just get a little bit more light on it in a couple of these edges, and maybe look for a bright spot that goes in the flower. And then what I would consider doing, remember, shadows are bluish. These shadows tend to be a little bit grayish. But if you want this flower to stand out, then take that background and darken it back there, right? It doesn't have to be what you see. It's what your goal here is, to make a really good painting. So, and the same thing even with this vase. I mean, what you want to do is ask yourself, can I strengthen this painting by darkening all of this? See, if I take this door out, I'll take this. This has got a little purple in it. And well, it's not reading right. There we go. So if I take this window out, is it helping or hurting the painting? And so I think it's hurting the painting because it's drawing all the attention. If you wanted to put it in, I'd move everything over. But I would look for a way. You've got, pretty good delineation. I get some good darks up against your lights on this table. Strengthen your shadow behind this. And by the way, you can have the whole thing in shadow if you want to. That's okay. Nobody's going to be critical of that. And if you want to put a little of that light back there, just put a little sense of it, a touch of it. But I'm going to look to strengthen this vase by darkening this side of it. You're going to have some reflected light in there, no question. But what we're going to do is then look for a way to make this go back and create that sense of form. Your brightest spot's going to be over here. And so we want to just kind of make this go back. And the question is this a lavender base? Is it a white vase? If it's white, then this is probably going to go more blue. But just try to work on your form, and then you can get some of that reflected light in here, and that will help it. And then also, strengthen the color, right? So strengthen the color on this flower. Let's see if we can get a little bit more color. Brighten it up just a little bit. Have some fun with it, and just draw attention. Same thing with the leaf, the edge of the leaf. Let's look for a way we can just get just a little bit more color in there. You have to be careful. I don't want this to be garish. I'm just using this to make a point. And then maybe have a couple other leaves in there to make the point. And then you can mute that back, gray that down, but you want it to kind of this whole area here, where if we're in your focal point, this whole area here is what's gonna really make this pop. So remember, I think the biggest thing I want you to work on here, Joyce, is form, right? So we've got to have that sense of form. Let me go back to here, right? So form, everything has form, right? So if the light is coming from here, then you've got light a little darker, a little darker, and a little darker. So it's a good idea to practice these balls and cones and cubes. You can see the reflected light coming up in here. And so these things will help you a lot. I know they're boring. I always thought they were boring anyway, but consider something like that. And then Joyce, we're looking forward to seeing what you come with on the other side, but strengthen that. And then, by the way, let's strengthen the light on this space, right? Get a spot on it and maybe do something there. So that's going to strengthen it a lot. See how that just makes a big difference? All right, Joyce, good job. Congratulations. Next we have who? We have a forest scene painting. It's a lovely landscape from Cynthia Allen in Missouri. Congratulations, Cynthia. This is a really pretty painting. And I think, for me, it's working really well, but I see a couple of things. But let's go through our composition exercises. And first off, let's go dead center. Okay, now we're not on dead center. We're pretty close to dead center. This tree here, the little tree back here is dead center, but you are off center, so that's good. I want to also do the tic-tac-toe board. And so now this is a focal point. This is a focal. Remember, you don't want more than one primary. You can put a little touches of something to draw attention, but you don't want to do that more than 3 spaces. So I think you've got that in the right focal point. So really, this is what we're trying to draw attention to. I'd say that's the first thing I see because it's the most light. It's the sharpest edge. I see right here, one thing I can't unsee is I see a perfect square. And see how this shape is like a little bit all over the map? This shape here is a V. Always pay attention to your shapes. You've got, your square here. And so ask yourself, could I just make that so it doesn't read as a square? Is there something I could do with that will help that not read exactly as a square? And I think that will help. So let's look at shapes. You've got some really interesting shapes in here. You've got some really nice shapes. And shapes, you want your shapes to be varied, and you don't want them all to be the same. And I think you've done a really good job of that. So this shape is really varied over here, but this and this are exactly the same. Even though you're mirroring it, you want to make this one a little bit different somehow, just because in reflections it would be. Now, the other thing that I am seeing here is that there are things that are kind of drawing my attention away. One is the bright spot here. I don't know if that's necessary, but if we were to just kind of take that out, it might not draw the eye so much. You're going to believe the light is coming from this side anyway, because you can just tell from all this other stuff. So if you just mute that back just a little bit, it's going to be, and I would just mute some of this back just a little bit, because you're trying to draw all the attention to right here. I really want to look at the color version though. I think this is a really good painting. I like it. I wish I had done that. Okay, so it's some of these things are not standing out as much in the color version because you can see a little bit of the detail back in the square, the city square right in here. But let's just pick up on this color. Let's just move some of this around a little bit and get rid of that square shape. Now, the part of the thing that's causing that square shape is this tree here. So I'm going to just take that tree out for now. And also what's happening is you got 2 little soldiers lining up. You got one here and here. So I think if you want to have another tree, let's put one in there, but let's put a little angle in there, put a little light on it. So it's catching a little light in the background, but let's get some angle in there so that it just breaks it up a little bit. It's not all so straight, right? And angles are going to serve you and they're going to help you a lot. We're going to get rid of this bright spot in here, and that's going to help a lot. The other thing I'm really having a hard time with is these trees feel like they're short, right? Trees are tall typically. These trees feel short because what's happening is you're trying to show the sky. So what if you just said, you know what, I don't care about the sky. What if you just took these trees off of the edge of the painting? And what happens when you do that is it makes the tree feel bigger, right? So you don't have to have all that the top of the tree in there. Now you could have some of this over here, so you're showing some of the edge of the tree and some of the light. You can have little spots of light in there, but I think that would help you a lot. I think this is a lovely painting, and there's not more that I would do. I think your reflection is good. You might consider soften this in here just a little tiny bit more. You can play with that and ask yourself what's helping, what's hurting. This little green spot here is kind of pointing me in this direction. So sometimes you can use pointers, right? Just little subtle things. This tree can be a pointer. That tree can be a pointer, right? And so look for ways that you're drawing attention to that. And then, maybe I would consider mute some of this back in here, because again, what we're trying to do is to draw attention into the focal point. And so just by doing that, this is a really lovely painting. And then what I would do, instead of having all these brights all over this painting, let's pick up on some of these brights and let's really enhance. I'm going to exaggerate here probably, but see if I can get a gray green. Let's now like go, whoa, that's really nice. Let's get some, bring some real attention into just right in the focal point. Don't take the temptation to take it all the way up here. What you want to do is just kind of like, okay, what can I do to really make this stand out? And then this is where you can put in a little color you won't see anywhere else, like this yellow, right? And so you're just now you're making that show. I would say that your tree could use a tiny bit of form, and I'm trying to figure out what the right color is. I'd try to get a little the light. I'm not sure where the light's coming from. I'd say the form would be on this side of the tree. So just try to figure out how to get a little bit of form in there, and that's just by getting a little bit of dark in there. Richard Schmid, who was a friend of mine who passed away, was a very great painter. Most people paint. I'm going to show you how to paint trees. Let's see if I can figure this out. Okay, most artists paint trees like this. Richard Schmid paints trees like this. And so when you have a nice thick brush, you just kind of it's helping enhance the form of the tree, right? And so just consider trying that. What would happen is if you had a little bit of that black and white action there. Anyway, that's what we've got on this one. Do we have any more? Oh yeah, we have composition. Thank goodness for my producer, Amandine. Okay, so we're going to talk about portals. And this is a concept that 𝗙𝗿𝗶𝗱𝗆 taught me. He's a great painter. We did a video with him. And this essentially, this painting, it just happens to be, we didn't pick it for this reason, but this painting happens to be a portal. And a portal is, so you're looking through something, right? Doesn't have to be round, can be any kind of a shape, but you're kind of looking through something. So you kind of have a lead into your portal, and then you're drawing people back, and then you have something in the portal, like it's almost like you're spying on somebody, or you're looking through the trees, and it creates a pretty cool effect. And so if you're trying to create a portal, then what you want to do is, and I see this all the time, is you want to ask yourself, okay, is there something in here that would be really cool, and that would, I can look for ways to draw the eye in here. And so 𝗙𝗿𝗶𝗆 taught me this with a landscape painting. And so we were in the woods, and there was a trail kind of going into here. And again, you got to be careful not to put everything dead center. So we had some trees in here, and we had some trees in here, and a little bit of sky, but just kind of like we created a thing. And then he put in there was the water, and there was a couple of rocks, and there were a couple of people bathing in the water, and you can maybe see some rocks in the distance, and it just makes, and then all of this is kind of dark around it, and everything in the middle is kind of light, and it's kind of drawing the eye in here. And so you could really develop that into have a little fun with that, and turn that into, you've got your water here, and you've got some really luscious greens in here, and maybe receding in here, maybe that's a waterfall, and then you've got your sky in here, and then you've got some grass or something leading you in, and then maybe you have a trail, right? So maybe you have a trail leading you in, and then there's maybe there's some grass or some rocks or something up here. So the idea is to try to create something that's not dead center, but is inside a circle or a portal. All right. Okay, that is terrific. Anyway, I will tell you guys about a couple of things. First off, we have an event that we did recently called Art Business Mastery. We had 1,000 or more people watching it to help them grow their 2025 business. People have been asking, stop asking. People have been asking, you know, I missed it. Can I watch it? Yes, you can go to @𝗙𝗵𝗱𝗆.com and you can find it there. There's a replay of it. It's a full day and it's cheap. So get it and watch it. It'll help your career. And then there's some, we launched some mastermind groups and some training things in there for helping you with your business and your marketing. And that's all at @𝗙𝗵𝗱𝗆.com. I want to remind you guys that, let's see, we need a poem. Okay, ready for this? Here we go. Roses are red, violets are blue. You haven't signed up for 𝗙𝗍 yet, so shame on you. All right, so here's the deal. The Plein Air Convention, 𝗙𝗍, Plein Air Convention and Expo, right? 𝗙𝗍. Plein Air Convention and Expo is going to be in Lake Tahoe. It is the largest gathering of outdoor artists in the world, the largest paint out in the world. I think it is the largest in-person training event for artists in the world. And we have 5 stages. You can learn anything you want: oil, watercolor, gouache. You can move from stage to stage, pastel, you know, whatever you want to learn. And we have a giant expo hall. We have 5 stages teaching pretty much in the mornings and part of the afternoon. Then we all go painting together, and we're going to be painting Lake Tahoe and Reno and Virginia City and the Sierra Nevadas and lakes. And so we all go painting together. It's really a really terrific experience. And this is the last time for a long time we're going to be in the California, Nevada zone, because we plan these things 2, 3, 4 years in advance, right? So if you live in that zone, of course, people are coming from all over the country, all over the world. But the early bird price on that event ends on Valentine's Day. It expires Valentine's Day. So you could save $700 if you get booked now. So make sure that you do that. Go to pleinairconvention.com. By the way, you want to grab a room. You want to be at the main hotel because that's where all the fun happens. And because people sit up at night and sing and play guitar and talk, and sometimes they paint. And, you know, we do nocturne painting. We do all kinds of things. We got almost 80, maybe over 80 now, instructors. We have field painters who are there to work with you in the field. And that is Plein Air Convention. So make sure you take care of and do that for Valentine's Day. We also have, what else do we have? We have Acrylic Live coming up in March. We just finished Watercolor Live. We have had really terrific reviews. Thank you very much. This is the first time we've done acrylic, and it's breaking all of our records for a first-time event. People are excited about it, and they're excited because a lot of people are moving to acrylic because they want to learn something new. They want to get out of their box. They want to try something different, and it's also really great to travel with. I am going to my winter art escape this week on Saturday, and I'm taking acrylics with me. I'm also taking oils, but I want to do some painting in acrylic. I'm using acrylic gouache, and so there's a lot of people using gouache, and so I'll take everything. I take everything anyway. I take watercolor, gouache, acrylic, but it's kind of fun. So come to Acrylic Live. We would love to have you. We have a free gift for you. The free gift is yours if you're watching for the first time, or you just haven't done this. Go to 97artsecrets.com/free. This is about 2 hours worth of video. You can stream it instantly, or you can pay the shipping and get a DVD. A lot of people still do that, surprisingly, but that's okay. We're there for you. And so 97artsecrets.com/free. And of course, if you have not subscribed to this program, that's another shame. Shame. We'd love to have you. And if you subscribe, then you get notified when we go live. If you hit the little bell, there's a little bell on YouTube. Go to YouTube, look up Art School Live, and subscribe. Now, we push this out on multiple mediums, but we would love it if you go to YouTube and do that. That would be really terrific. Okay, well, we hope this has been helpful. We remember, keep it positive. We want to make sure that you're having a really good time. Remember, look at your own paintings and ask yourself, what about my darks and my lights? Are the darks too dark? Are they too light? Are they receding? How are my edges? What's my composition look like? Am I taking people off the edge of the painting? A lot of different things to think about. I've thought about making a flight list, right? Flight list is something where, you know, it's a checklist. Do this when you start painting, check these things when you finish painting. So maybe somebody will do that someday. Okay, thanks for watching today. Thank you to my producer, Amandine, and we will see you. Well, someone will see you on Monday. I'm going to have guest artists on Monday all week because I'll be at my winter artiscape in St. Augustine, Florida, painting for the week. But I'll try to check in from time to time. Thank you, guys. Bye.